This is Campus News, reporting the top stories from colleges and universities.
Next on Campus News.
A look back at a devastating flood and how it shaped one area news professional.
Find out how an area college is opening up the discussion around drug use and battling the area's opioid epidemic.
Connecting off the court. See how one MSUM basketball player is making an impact with those who have Down syndrome.
But first, is there a cat killer on campus? One student is charged with killing 3 cats, but Facebook messages tell a different story.
Good morning and welcome to Campus News. I'm Veronica Utek.
And I'm Benjamin Reiki. An MSUM student is being investigated for animal cruelty, but a series of Facebook messages show he believes he's been set up. Jalen Isaac Greer is charged with 3 counts of mistreating animals following the death of 3 cats. However, in Facebook messages between Greer and a friend, Greer says he came home to find the first cat dead and blames his neighbors for the animal's death. The messages contradict the police's statement of probable cause, where Greer stated he got into a struggle with the cat after trying to clip its claws. Greer is currently banned from MSUM's campus. While not commenting on Greer's case specifically, the school says they are allowed to bar students from entering campus depending on the circumstances.
If a student has engaged in pretty serious behavior, we want to be able to take immediate action to be able to respect the rights and the safety of our campus community and ask a student to not be on campus. So part of that summary suspension would be a trespass from campus.
Greer will have a court hearing on May 15th. He could not be reached for comment. The growing opioid crisis in the Fargo-Moorhead area has many people feeling the pain and sadness that surrounds this ever-increasing issue.
But local groups on area campuses are raising awareness to try and put a stop to this epidemic and crush the stigma surrounding it. Reporter Trevor Tice takes a closer look at the issue and introduces us to the families affected.
With the raging drug epidemic in the Fargo-Moorhead area, NDSU is taking a stand and raising awareness by inviting students to a screening of the documentary Chasing the Dragon with a discussion panel afterwards.
Here today talking about it is that it kills people.
The documentary explores the stories and lives of those who have used opioids.
They'll rob you right in front of you.
How opioids have impacted their lives.
I'm not even getting high,
and those who have had to bury their own children because of it.
The minute that chemical hits your bloodstream, you lose control of what it does in your body.
For many, this was their first time learning about the issue. But for Melissa Patterson, her family's first time battling opioids was a few months ago, long before the documentary came to Fargo.
The biggest thing is it can happen to anybody. And I think the variety of individuals they had on film today really kind of opened that door.
After the film, a panel featured local specialists, including law enforcement, answered questions from the audience. First Lady Catherine Burgum was also in attendance to show her support for the community.
The people that were here, the students that were here, they can take this information back to their families, their friends, their peers, and really talk about how horrible it is and just, don't take that first drug.
A couple months after Patterson's daughter Alex Hewitt started using opioids, she was taken into custody. Hewitt is currently being held in a women's prison in New England, North Dakota. Patterson says without prison, her daughter may not be alive today.
My daughter's been in prison for 8 months now and celebrated 8 months of sobriety on April 4th.
In 2016, Fargo alone lost more than a dozen lives to opioid abuse. Now, almost a year later, Fargo police say the number of overdoses has been cut in half. Though the numbers may have gone down, members in the surrounding community say they will continue fighting this devastating opponent. With photographer Jared Eischen, Trevor Tice, Campus News.
If you or someone you know is battling addiction, it's best to get help right away. You can do this by contacting a counselor or dialing your crisis hotline, including the Addiction Referral Network at 888-312-2037.
University of Minnesota officials are warning students about a mumps outbreak on campus. There have been 6 reported cases so far. Students are required to be vaccinated against the disease, but health officials say it's still possible to catch it. The disease is considered highly contagious and can be spread by coughing, sneezing, and sharing food or drinks. Symptoms include puffy cheeks, swollen jaw, fever, headaches, and loss of appetite. Symptoms may take up to 2 days to show up, but a person can be contagious before they set in.
Drinking and driving impacts people all over the country every year. Reporter Zach Hoffner shows us how one MSUM freshman is using her experience to raise awareness in hopes that no one will have to go through a similar experience.
Here's another one. This is one of my favorites. He was the best big brother I could ask for.
Riley Langer recalls the cold December night when her life would change forever.
It was the exact night of the accident, when we went out for pizza at the local pizza ranch. That's the last time I ever spoke to him as normal brother and sister.
After her brother Tyler made the decision to drink and drive, striking a semi head-on, killing his best friend, and leaving him fighting for his life. But she hasn't let a tragedy like this stop her from educating others.
Tyler, if you could get up on that stage and you could say what you wanted to say, what would you say to these kids?
She now uses her brother's story to teach students and community members on the dangers of drinking and driving.
And he simply said, it's not worth it.
Students react to the seminar as well.
I think Riley's message was very eye-opening, and her story to us older kids that are going to be driving, and for those that will be drinking and making that choice, to have a safe ride home and have a plan.
Students and members of the audience end the seminar by signing a board, pledging to never drink and drive. With photographer Tamor Sati,
I hope that my story impacted you today.
Zach Hoffner, Campus News.
Langer will be speaking at the Every 15-Minute seminar held at Moorhead High School on May 4th. Hundreds of marchers rallied on MSUM's campus mall this Earth Day to raise awareness about the importance of science. Over 200 people took part in Moorhead's very own March for Science. This march is part of a nationwide event meant to showcase how science is needed in everyday life and to protest what marchers see as an anti-scientific policy coming from President Trump's administration. The science lovers began the day by meeting on the campus mall before marching to the Veterans Memorial Bridge. Other marches were held throughout the country, with the main event being held in Washington, D.C.
April marks the 20-year anniversary of a historic but catastrophic period in the Red River Valley. Reporter Haley Foster takes us up the river and back in time as one former campus news anchor remembers her experience with the flood that changed our area forever.
It's been 20 years since a devastating flood wiped out Grand Forks, North Dakota.
I remember so vividly those bells ringing when we were there. When people ask the stories that still come to mind or the memories that are really vivid, the flood of '97, even as a student, was one that will never leave me, I don't think.
While many can recall the mass evacuations and chaos, MSUM professor and WDUI anchor Kirsten Keeley says covering the event is something she will never forget.
Seeing these people and the looks on their faces who had lost everything, and they were away from their homes for several days and didn't know what they had left at home, didn't know what their neighborhoods looked like, and then the hope that they got when President Clinton was standing addressing them saying, you guys aren't alone, we're gonna fight for you, we're gonna rebuild.
In 1997, Keeley was a senior in college.
Good morning and welcome to this year's last edition of Campus News. I'm Kirsten Keeley,
anchoring for MSUM's Campus News program.
This is Campus News.
I remember the day so vividly when Martin came up to me and the producers and said, all right, we're taking a road trip. We're going to Grand Forks.
Keeley says covering an event like the flood in '97 at such a young age has helped shape her into the journalist she has become today.
Just so distinctly remember Martin telling us, you guys belong here. You're journalists. And to have that kind of drilled into your head, you're journalists. To give you the confidence to stand back there, that's huge. And if you can pass that along, I tell that to my students too, there's power in that.
Values and skills she's now trying to pass on to her own students at MSUM.
It was really just a surreal time for all of us.
Lessons she hopes her students will remember 20 years down the road, just like she does. Haley Foster, Campus News.
In addition to being 20 years since the flood, this month also marks Keeley's 20-year anniversary at WDAY. Thousands of public sector employees could be faced with student loan debt they never expected. The Department of Education is now saying those who are accepted into the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program may not be eligible. The program forgives a student's remaining debt after 10 years if they work in the public sector and have made their payments. It includes fields like nursing and public education. Last year alone, 431,000 people were enrolled in the program. Critics say it was never meant to accommodate so many. Others say the program helps encourage students to pursue careers in education.
The loan forgiveness is a nice incentive. We want to give folks a little bit of a break, I would think, who have made that positive contribution, and especially within teaching, because it's so impactful, as we discussed early on the lives of kids.
The Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program was put into law in 2007. According to the Pew Research Center, in 2010, about 40% of millennials had at least one tattoo. That number has increased in the last 7 years.
But even though millennials are inking up, 70% say they make sure their tattoos can be hidden from their employer. Reporter Haley Foster introduces us to an area tattoo artist to see what students should be considering before they commit to body art.
It's the mark of a generation.
I have one on my ankle and then one on my rib.
I have one tattoo.
I have one on the back of my shoulder and then I also have one on my wrist.
Rite of passage, rebelling against your parents, just tons of reasons.
Kelly Sieg is a recent MSUM graduate and a tattoo artist at the Golden Needle in Moorhead.
I'll be 2 years in November, so I'm just a baby in the industry.
Sieg says while she has clients of all ages, millennials are very popular in their shop.
You do get a lot of youngers, you get some fresh 18-year-olds, or you get your mid-20s. People of all age walks coming in wanting tattoos.
Though tattoos are becoming more and more common,
most everyone I know has tattoos.
That doesn't mean the workplace is becoming more lenient.
I would definitely check where you work, or if it's even a possibility. Some places will even fire people if they have visible tattoos.
But students say they're fairly cautious about where they put their ink.
My mom always warned me about being careful where I place my tattoos. I kind of put it on the shoulder because you don't really show your shoulders a lot. And then I put it on my wrist because I can cover that easily and it's pretty small.
The students we spoke with all said their tattoos have a personal meaning behind them.
It says vision over visibility.
Why did you get it?
It's one of my favorite quotes, or I guess song lyrics. And it's just something personally that resonates with me.
Even the ones who haven't been inked yet.
You know, I thought about getting one. It's just a matter of finding the place and time to get one. I would actually get a quote from the philosopher Boethius, in which he says, all fortune is good fortune.
No matter their reasoning, everyone we interviewed could agree on one thing.
When people get tattoos, they usually have meaning. So I feel like a person shouldn't be judged for the job they're doing based on their tattoos.
With photographer Jared Eishin, Haley Foster, Campus News.
Sieg says if you're one in the market for some body art, the smartest thing to do is make a plan detailing what you want and where. She says you should also research local artists and find whose style is compatible with your own. As the end of the school year is approaching, students are gearing up to enter the real world. For many, that means getting away from college life and entering the workforce. At MSU Moorhead, their students are getting prepared to enter the working world by participating in the first ever mock interview event, put on by the Career Development Center. With 21 interviews and only 4 minutes each to make an impression, students are able to speak with as many employers as they want. They can even receive feedback in a quick and casual environment.
I don't think it's high pressure. I think interviews are they come across like they're going to be high pressure, because I mean it is a stressful situation. It does have high stakes, so I mean the pressure is there, but as long as you sit down, you're cool, collected, confident, know your skills, know who you are, it's a great way to build yourself.
Students say they were able to learn different skills to help them in their future job search, including making eye contact, slowing down when they speak, and being themselves.
We've heard the sound of bells for decades in our region. Most of the time, the sound comes from church bell towers, but students at Concordia have bells of their own. Reporter Yarvo Brown brings us to Concordia College for an inside look at some musical tunes.
Every hour at Concordia College, you can hear the bells ringing. But what most people don't know is the Concordia Handbell Choir was developed with inspiration from the bell tower.
The instrument dates back actually to tower bells in England, where, you know, if you think about Concordia's bell tower or something like that, those guys have to practice. And so they developed a smaller handheld version.
These handbells first started creating tunes in churches around the United States. But now, the campus choir bells are creating more than just church melodies.
Handbells have grown to be more of a performing instrument.
These instruments create more than just music.
I'm also involved in other musical ensembles where there's plenty of practicing involved. But here we kind of get to show up, we can read, we can have fun, we can laugh, and then at the end of the day we can make good music.
In order to make good music,
basically this line is the melody, so if you don't play the other notes.
Students have to know how to read music notes and learn how to play the bells. Learning how to play the handbell isn't only about the flick of the wrist, it's all about coordination.
Handbells are an instrument that are a very welcoming community, and that, you know, in a lot of situations, in just a short amount of time with a good teacher, that you can be part of a group, and it's a really nice, fun, small networking group.
These fun networking group of students in this room come each week to make more than just noise. They come to make musical connections and ring their heart out. With photographer Anna Sandmeyer, Yarva Brown, Campus News.
The Handbell Choir has their next performance this afternoon in the Knutson Campus Center Centrum. About 1 in every 700 children in the U.S. is born with Down syndrome, but one MSUM women's basketball player is trying to lessen the impact of the statistic.
Reporter Tanner Robinson shows us how she is helping kids cope with the disorder.
Are you good at Jenga? I don't know if I'm very good.
MSUM basketball standout Drew Sanis volunteers at Gigi's Playhouse once every month. She uses games like Jenga to get the creative juices of kids like John and Lucas flowing.
What's your favorite animal? John is your favorite animal?
Yes. John and Lucas both have Down syndrome, a disorder Sanis has a strong connection to.
I grew up with a guy who had Down syndrome, and we were really close growing up, so I think that just that sparked my interest and kind of made me passionate about people with Down syndrome.
Here at Gigi's Playhouse, Sanis is one of the volunteers that provides many different resources to help people with Down syndrome feel like they're at home.
Pizza, air hockey,
oh, nice shot,
and karaoke. Are just a few things that provide an escape for Sanis and the patrons of the Playhouse.
It's nice to just come here and kind of let everything go and have a good time. Lucas, you want to come grab some pizza?
Although she is leading an event for the first time since she started last August, she has already gained the approval of parents.
She's good, very good. She's been here many of the times when we've been here, so she's pretty regular at it.
Sanis says she loves the flexibility the volunteering experience provides, and she can't argue with the results.
Getting to hang out with them and see them have a good time and know that what you're doing is making an impact, I would say that's definitely rewarding.
Sanis wants to get more involved in the community in the future, but until then, she says she will help kids like John and Lucas express themselves within the Playhouse. With photographer Jared Eischen, Tanner Robinson, Campus News.
Gigi's Playhouse has 28 locations across the U.S. and Mexico, and they plan on opening more in the future.
And now we turn over to Haley Foster for a look at this week's sports. Haley, I hear the Dragons softball team is drumming up a lot of support with fans.
That's right, Ben. Softball fever is in full swing for many, including members of the MSU Moorhead team. Reporter Robin Rohde shows us how the Dragons are getting ready to close out the year.
If you hear the sound of drums coming from Alex Nemzik's softball field, you know the Dragon hitters have finally taken the bases.
Niner, let's go, kid!
The warm weather has helped the MSU Moorhead softball team get outside earlier this season, something coach Kelsey Fayol has been looking forward to.
that's our lives, kind of. We practice for 6 months to be able to play for a month. So.
Topping the list of what the Dragons need to focus on first, pitching. This season, MSUM is a lineup of 4 freshmen in their bullpen. Jordan Hall recently earned her first win over Minot State, but the freshman from St. Charles, Illinois, knows that every game is a new challenge.
We just want to win. We just want to hit our spots, and we just want to get strikes. So that's all I'm looking forward to help my strike zone.
The learning curve within a tough conference has been steep, but MSUM has 30 games in 30 days during April to work through it. Helping to guide the Dragons is a group of 5 seniors to create a strong backdrop.
We can score a lot of runs on offense. We just need to clean things up defensively and then have our pitchers come out and throw strong every day.
No matter what the scoreboard says, the Dragons have a goal to let their voices speak just as loud as their bats.
One of our big focuses is coming with a lot of energy and intensity every single game, because when we have fun, we play a lot better.
With a home stretch of 3 doubleheaders next week to end the regular season, Nemzik Field will once again be rocking. Robin Rohde, Campus News.
The Dragons have a team goal to make it to the NSIC tournament beginning in the middle of May. The MSUM football team hosted its spring scrimmage last weekend. Both teams were evenly matched, with the winners and the losers being separated by only 1 point. The Dragons split up into 2 squads, the red team and the white team. The final score was 28-27, with the white team winning on a defensive stop on the last play of the game. The Dragons had 5 different receivers with touchdown receptions in the scrimmage, while all 4 quarterbacks threw touchdowns. MSUM opens their season against Augustana on September 2nd. After weeks of practice, the NDSU Bison football team showcased its skills at its annual spring football game. This year, the Bison are focused on bouncing back after not winning a 6th national championship last season. They will be looking to use young talent like sophomore running back Ty Brooks to get themselves back into playoffs. Head coach Chris Kleiman says he's looking forward to seeing Brooks' explosive play in the fall. The Bison kick off their season at home against Mississippi Valley State this September. The MSUM soccer team is sharing its knowledge of the game with kids in the Fargo-Moorhead community in the form of the Dragon Youth Soccer Clinic. Reporter Brendan Finger shows us some fancy footwork from some fun-sized soccer studs.
Coach Christy Chappell and her players took the field to help young athletes develop their soccer skills. The kids participated in games that taught footwork and ball control. Chappell says there is some advice she would give these kids if they dream of playing college soccer one day.
Play as much as you can. It's great if you can join a local club or if you're just playing pickup in your backyard with your family or friends. But honestly, you have to touch the soccer ball a lot in order to be successful.
After playing their hearts out, the kids went for a quick water break. Once they rehydrated, the kids charged right back onto the field. Hannah Lose, a junior on the MSUM soccer team, says helping young athletes is a great experience.
I would say it's really rewarding. It's really fun to see them grow even over the course of an hour.
Teaching younger players about soccer isn't just beneficial to the kids. Coach Chappell says being a part of the soccer clinic helps her players become better leaders.
Every single player started at any of the ages that they were at today, whether it was 3, 4, 5, or maybe they started a little bit later. But I think everybody can really remember the first time they started playing and when they touched a soccer ball and just the joy of the game.
As the kids walk away with new knowledge of the game, the Dragons look ahead to the season coming next fall. With photographer Martin Schlegel, Brendan Finger, Campus News Sports.
Young athletes ages 4 to 14 attended the team's annual clinic. You know, I started my 15-year soccer career at 5, and I remember going to things like that when I was their age and having so much fun.
You know, Haley, it's great seeing the Dragon women take on a big sister role for the community kids.
Thanks, Haley. The baseball team at Concordia College in Moorhead is little over halfway through their season.
Reporter Tyler Ziegler takes us through one player's journey back to the field he loves.
Bucky Burgow Field, home of the Cobber baseball team and home of senior captain Joe Howell. The Cobbers are having a good season, sitting at 4th place in the conference, with Hallock leading the way.
10 years from now, I think his teammates that are here now will talk about his leadership abilities.
He pitches and he catches. Joe can also hit. His average for the season is .349, but he hasn't always been able to swing the bat so well. The average bat speed for a college baseball player is 80 miles an hour. That means the bat crosses the plate in less than half a second. Joe Hallock's life changed in even less than that. After battling numerous injuries throughout his career, Joe had a stroke in October of 2014.
One of the doctors told him that his childhood was over.
And that's what baseball is to Joe, his childhood.
Joe's baseball career started when he was maybe 2 or 3, hitting off a little tee.
Hallock's first injury came to him at 15 years old.
We thought it was a pulled muscle, so it was kind of a shock to know that he had a blood clot, and then found out that he had thoracic outlet syndrome, which took us down to Mayo Clinic.
It was the blood clotting disorder that ultimately caused Joe to suffer the stroke. But despite all the injuries, Joe has not been deterred.
Especially during the bad times, you're kind of like, could be paralyzed.
Joe's mother has seen his determination firsthand.
He is relentless if he wants something. He will not give up.
Relentless describes Joe so much that he got the word tattooed on his arm. His relentlessness has inspired some of those close to him.
When it comes to life, Joe's a pretty big role for me. I don't think that he really realizes it, but he's been through a lot of stuff. Like, I think that I can truck through things if he can.
Joe is in his last season of college sports, but he's not ready to end his baseball career.
Plan A is to play professional baseball. He'd love to play for the Red Hawks.
The Red Hawks are the professional team in Fargo Moorhead.
He really wants to play for them right now because he grew up watching those guys.
For the time being, there's only one thing that Hallock is focused on.
Our next goal right now is have a great practice tomorrow, and then a great practice after that.
People told Joe that he could never make it this far.
Oh boy, Joey!
But now his dream is to play for a national championship. With photographer Leah Backstrom, Tyler Ziegler, Campus News.
Hallock and the rest of the Cobber baseball team face St. Mary's in a doubleheader this afternoon. And that's it for this year of Campus News. You can watch every episode of the show on YouTube. Just subscribe and follow MSUM Campus News.
We leave you with another look at the Concordia Handbell Choir.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next year.
Campus News is produced by the Television News Workshop in the School of Communication and Journalism at Minnesota State University Moorhead in cooperation with Prairie Public Television.